Good morning, everybody. I am so excited to welcome Dr. Alessandra Wall to Business Resource Committee and our workshop this morning. So Dr. Wall is the founder and head coach at Noteworthy. Noteworthy was built with a single purpose in mind: to elevate women to the leadership and power positions they deserve, but aren't always able to access. We do this via one-to-one coaching, executive coaching, leadership consulting and training, and group programs designed to help women build visibility and companies build success. And I just want to add a little bit that Dr. Wall is a clinical psychologist and really understands people. And then you combine that with her understanding of business and what businesses need. And it's just this unique blend that really, and her ability to ask thoughtful questions and really see things clearly. It's phenomenal. So I'm so glad to have you here, Alessandra, and excited for your presentation.
I'm bringing Janie around every time I get to go speak. Okay, as Janie pointed out, like nothing in my background says marketing or LinkedIn expert or specialist. So I want to tell you why I'm here for a second, and then we'll go into this because this isn't about me, it's about you. Noteworthy is my third business. Fourth, if we count the CrossFit gym that we had for 6 years, but I was like the silent business partner on the side. So since I didn't get credit for that, I'm not even going to talk about it. But opening a psych practice is super easy. You hang your shingle, you show up, the identified problem, the identified solution, the pathway to building your business is very easy if you're good at what you do. And before the pandemic, if you were good at what you do now, if you just have a pulse and you have a clinical degree, because everybody needs the help, you could build a thriving business. And I built that business in 2007. So you can imagine what 2008, 2009, and 2010 felt like. But we were in the black very rapidly and moving. When I decided I wanted to build a coaching business, I thought I would do the same thing. I would just leverage, a PhD and like a decade worth of work. And I would hang my shingle and say, I'm a coach now, and I would gain business. And that didn't work. So then I went and spent a lot of money. Notice I'm thinking about your addiction to coaching from Don's perspective. I spent a lot of money hiring lots of people to tell me how to market my business. And I wouldn't say that it was a waste of money. What I would say is it got me nowhere. So I learned a lot to build a failing business and burn myself out in the process. I had a podcast. I have over 100 pieces of 100 blog posts. I had content. I was on Instagram and Facebook, not yet on LinkedIn at the time. And I was exhausted. And I burnt myself out, and I took 6 months off, and I refocused on that first question that I asked you all to consider, which is, who is your ideal client? And the way I would recommend you think about this in your business is not what is it that I can do and like who's it going to serve, but rather who are the people that I want to be dealing with day in, day out, right? And then very specifically, and this, Michelle, something I was speaking about and chatting back and forth to you when I said get granular, is in order to create great content for these people, you really have to sit down and get in their head. That's where being a psychologist is an advantage. I'll have to say that's where paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to hire people to force me to do the work was also, in hindsight, an advantage. But you really have to get into their head. What do they do when they first wake up in the morning? What are the kinds of headaches that they have? What are the things that they dream of dealing with, right? Naila, it sounds like, Naila, that this is the kind of work you do, right? If you're doing marketing, this whole client journey thing, and it is an extremely big project. So if you can get her help to keep you accountable to do this work, like it's worth hiring somebody. But you do really want to get granular, because that vision of who you want to serve and like what goes through their head, what they feel day in, day out, is going to drive your whole messaging process. I just went through interviewing 15 different executive women I would say about half of them were clients of mine and half of them were referred by clients of mine. It took a lot of time, but I have all the language I need. So the concepts you're talking about are the same concepts I've been talking about for years, but I've actually refined my language to use words like freedom, which I would have never used before. But when these women talk about work-life balance, they're not talking about work-life balance. They're talking about freedom. So now I can throw that language throughout my copy, throughout my posts to resonate with them. The second thing I asked you to think about was this question of, right, like, what is it that you actually want these people to know about you? Right? You could write about 1,000 things, but the wisdom that I've gotten that I would recommend using is thinking about kind of 3 big buckets of topics that are the things you want to be talking about to this ideal client, to this person whose attention you're trying to grab amidst a sea of information. Don't have 15 different things you talk about, just 3. And then you can start creating everything that you write, or if you're hiring a copywriter, they still need this information. You can give them this information and they can write about these 3 topics in 20 or 30 different ways. And part of this I won't go into, but I will send a follow-up email with some guides and stuff that I've used, right, that I've leveraged, that I'm happy to pass on and to share. And the third thing you need to figure out is what makes you different. Because I'll tell you what, everyone and their mother's a coach. Everyone, right? The market got flooded for therapists. When I came on the scene in San Diego, Psychology Today, which was the page to go, had 73 therapists total. That was their directory. The directory now has thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Positioning yourself properly online allows you to attract the right people. So for me, when I retired from therapy in February of this year, but when I was still doing it, allowed me to attract people I wanted to work with and not people who were going to burn me out. So you might just be thinking about this copy of, well, I want to gain visibility, but it's not just that. It's about attracting the right people to your business so you stop wasting time having conversations with people who don't understand what you do, aren't the right clients for you, can't pay for your services, right? Or maybe they can do all 3 of those things, but they're going to make you miserable, right? Depending on how close you are. Like they're just terrible people and you just don't want to work with them. A terrible fit, not necessarily terrible people, a terrible fit for who you are. So I would highly recommend, as I said, thinking about these questions really deeply. I threw them out because I want you to keep them in mind. And my hope is that there's a sheet next to you right now. I'm in Gen X, so I still write a lot of things. There's a sheet of paper next to you. And then as we start talking, you start crafting a post. You start thinking about what I'm going to do. But first, let's go into just a few basics. So first of all, why LinkedIn? There's a really simple answer for that. LinkedIn is the #1 digital space for professionals. It is really, if you are, especially in B2B markets, but not just B2B, right? Markets, it is essential to be on LinkedIn. You see the numbers, I don't need to repeat them. But the beauty with LinkedIn is it has a singular purpose, which is to connect professionals to one another. Unlike Facebook, unlike Instagram, unlike TikTok, where you might be going to be entertained, or you might be going to to keep track of your family and what's going on. The purpose of LinkedIn is very clear. So when you're speaking on LinkedIn, your message can be much more powerful. If I'm on Facebook, which I'm not on any of those anymore, for a variety of reasons, including my issues with how Meta ran business the last few years. But you have to balance that. Like, how do I communicate a business message? How do I without sounding too salesy, how do I make sure that this stands out amidst like the clickbait on what Brad and Angelina Jolie, it's very messy. Now, I will say that what we're going to talk about LinkedIn probably applies to other forums. And this is also why it's especially important to think about your clients, because your clients might not be on LinkedIn. I didn't hear this from anybody, but let's just say that your clients are teenage girls who are getting prepped for college. And you're very specifically, you want to work with girls because their learning style is different than boys. Yes, I'm being gender specific here. It's my space. We learn differently, right? Well, you're probably better off doing a lot of work on channels like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook than you are on LinkedIn. Even if you're trying to communicate with those girls' parents, you can do some work on LinkedIn, but it is really important. And for me, leaving those other pieces aside and focusing entirely on LinkedIn, which is the only way I do marketing. I don't have ads. That is all I drive my business entirely through LinkedIn and then relationships will make a difference. So knowing who your ideal client is will then allow you to understand what platform you need to be on. In order to work on a platform, any platform, but we'll keep this to LinkedIn because it is at this point where I know my stuff. You got to make a first grade impression. And that means that your profile pages and your business profile pages need to be on top, like need to be excellent. So I'm going to give you a couple tippers. And Janie, your personal page is great. Your business page sucks. Right?
Yep, you're right.
They have to both be there. The truth is, for the most part, you're going to be posting for your personal profile, right, from that account, because you're creating a personal relationship with people. But most of us, I click on people's businesses. I want to see how many employees you have. I want to see where you're located. I want to see if you're putting anything. I try to share, and this is pot calling the kettle black, because I need to update it, but I'm working on a few other things right now, right? So by reminding you, I'm actually just reminding myself to do a better job. But you want to make sure that your picture looks like you. If somebody has only seen you on LinkedIn and suddenly you run into them at a Carlsbad Chamber networking event, you don't want to waste those first few minutes of your impression with them going, oh, wow, she looks nothing like, he looks nothing like, he's like 20 years older now. They've lost 50 pounds. They've put on 50 pounds. Right? What you want is for people to grab you in a space and go, I've been wanting to meet you. So my recommendation, get new profile pictures done professionally every 2 or 3 years. That's what I do. I hire a professional every 2 years. We take updated pictures that look like me. For many years, I wore my hair natural and short. Then premenopause hit and the nature of my hair changed. So now I let it grow out and I wear it straight most of the time. Well, when I made that transition, I changed the pictures. And people do. Literally, Women's Week, I had women stop and go, you're Alessandra Wall. I follow you on LinkedIn. I'm not an influencer. I'm not trying to be an influencer, but those are my clients, right? So that is the reaction I want from them. And it's kind of cool. Sometimes it feels like being a rock star. You want to make sure that you never leave your banner blank. So Michelle's, and you feel free to go. I have to keep everything on this small screen, so I'm going to stay here. But if you go into the chat and you look at Michelle and Janie's LinkedIn profiles, they linked those in. You can look, like both of them on their personal profiles, not only are their pictures up to date, but they have banners that kind of represent what they do. So make sure your banner is relevant, that it points to what your business does or to value. It can be abstract, meaning it can just be a picture that hints at something thematically, or it can be something very specific. Michelle's, for example, literally talks about everything that she does. What I noticed on Jenny's business page is the banner is blank. And blank banners on LinkedIn look like you're MIA, right? It lacks that professionalism. The other thing I would say is make sure that your title points to your impact. So that's another place where I would change Janny's, right? You can put what you do, but here's the thing, people are going to scroll and then they're going to see you're the founder, you're the CEO, you're the principal, you're the managing director, you're the marketing specialist. Like that's down on the bottom under your experience. So use that quick blurb instead to talk about kind of what you do and ideally to fit in some impact. There are 1,000 ways of doing that, right? So you just look at people's pages. Some people write really catchy stuff. Some people, I think mine right now, and I've changed it a dozen times, mine right now might say something like, executive coach, psychologist, speaker, and then it says what I do, right? Helping women and leaders in STEM and whatever build wildly successful and deeply fulfilling careers, something like that. We're changing it. The other thing I would say, and I should have said this before, is before you change anything on LinkedIn, go into the settings. There's a viewing or a privacy setting where you can click so that every time you make a change, your whole network doesn't get notified. Otherwise, every time you change something, it's going to blast it to your network. Jenny's got a new title. Don's updated his profile picture. And if you're playing with your profile, it's overwhelming. So just turn it off. And if there's something really important you want some people to see, then you can turn it back on. But in general, you want to leave that off. That way you can tweak and play around with your profile. It's like trying paint on a wall. Leave it up for a week or so, see how you feel, come back, change it. It's an iterative process. And then the last thing I'd say about your profile is your About section is this great opportunity to showcase your experience and your results compellingly. Right? It is not another place to put down your work history. Work histories are historical. Do you really want people to think about what you did do, or do you want people to think about what you are and what you can do for them, right? So future oriented. And these are the same pieces of advice. I work a lot with the women I work with to create visibility. So although I've used this for my business, and I'll talk about it as a business, this is all the same advice I give to women when we're talking about building visibility, right? So that they can build recognition, so they can access opportunities. It's the same thing for us as business owners. It's really thinking about, how can I talk about what I'm passionate about, what I'm really good at doing, what kind of impact I can make with those skills. And if I'm really good at knowing who my ideal client is, why any of that matters to them. Right? So don't confuse impact and value. I tell you, I can help your company reduce attrition, especially by women, and increase profits. That's impact. Now I need to talk to you, if you're the person I'm trying to sell to, about why you should give a damn about that, right? Very personally, about why it matters to you. And so that's where knowing your ideal client becomes really important. Okay, that's just the prep. So now I'm going to move into what you're here about, which is posting. Posting 101. Posting or sharing content on LinkedIn is how you are going to drive visibility, trust, and engagement. I would recommend, and we'll talk about it a little bit more down the road, that if you're serious about using LinkedIn as a business platform, that you first create posts for yourself, and eventually down the road, you can consider whether or not you want to use advertising. But there's no point using advertising until you know that what you're talking about has value. I have never at this point used advertising for LinkedIn. I do have a new coach, and she's probably going to recommend that I start. And in part because I just, upped my fees by threefold. So I want to attract that category of people. I need to probably create the posts as I do it, but also create some targeted advertising. But you don't need that. I have built my business from nothing to a healthy six-figure business at this point, being a one-woman show, never having paid for a dime of advertising on LinkedIn. So we come back to what we were saying initially. There are 4 questions you have to ask yourself before you start creating posts. First is why and who. So what is your purpose? Why are you here? What is your purpose in posting? This is going to determine the kind of post you do and the frequency of posting you do. Are you posting just to create, to show up as a thought leader, right? A lot of executives do that. They hire companies or they post to show up as thought leaders, and they post and they have to put a lot less effort into their posts to do that, right? They're not trying to drive sale. There's not a call to action. It's just like, hey, these are the things I'm interested in. This is the stuff I talk about. So you can sit there and consider, is that why I'm posting? Or am I posting to drive business, right? Am I posting very specifically because I want people to contact me on LinkedIn and ask me about how we do business together, right? So really think about why you're posting. Why do I want to be here? And both might be true for you as a business professional. So you might sit there and go, I'm using LinkedIn just to gain visibility as an expert in this field, but but LinkedIn is not where I'm going to drive my business. I still want to post. So I'm going to think about how I do that. Or no, if you're like me, I want business, right? And so then we start with the second question, which I've already focused on quite a bit, which is who are you trying to engage? Because this is going to determine what kinds of posts you'll be sharing and how you write those posts. At Noteworthy, we engage two types. We do B2C and B2B. B2C is the executive coaching for the most part. I have some companies who hire me as an executive coach, so what I like to think of as a corporate coach, but most of it is individual women who are coming and paying out of their own pockets or coming in and talking to me, and then we'll figure out how to get their companies to pay for the fees. There's a lot of B2C for me. But the other client base is B2B. It is trying to get more corporate partners to come on and hire me to come and run projects or group coaching or other things like that within their organizations. And so I have two clients that I'm speaking to. They're two very different voices and they're two different kinds of messaging. It's a pain in the neck. I am very good at the B2C. I am developing my voice from B2B, right? The next thing you want to think about is what kind of posts. So just to throw this out, there are a lot of posts. There's long form posts. That's a lot of what I do. Janie, can you do me a favor? Can you go into my profile and click like my post on what women want? It's like a few weeks down.
Okay.
And then just share that link.
Yeah.
So that's a long form post. LinkedIn used to allow you to write up to 1,300 characters. Then overnight, suddenly that disappeared. It was very interesting. You'd write something and then you'd have to go into a character counter and start editing out words and figure out different ways of saying things. It's longer now. I think it's closer to 3,000 or 4,000. So you can really write microblogs. They're short form posts. Quick message, I don't know, like, something that you can see without having to scroll once you click on see more, right? They're polls. Polls do really, really well. What I'd recommend is never just throw out a poll without throwing out a message that goes with the polls. And when I say they do well, these are vanity metrics. Vanity metric wise, number of views, number of engagement, polls do well. You have slideshows, right? Taking the time to show information about you in a visual format and people can slide through them. That's really valuable when you have a big message you want to communicate without taking too much visual space. You can post with or without pictures. LinkedIn is one of the few platforms that still really likes written posts and doesn't necessarily just boost up pictures. But I can tell you from my experience, and it's this very odd thing, people love pictures of you. So if you are going to post with pictures, don't even bother posting stock photography. I've done it. I've tried it. You will not get as much engagement. And I had one peer one day say, yeah, I want to see pictures of you. It feels so narcissistic to post pictures of yourself again and again and again. And yet that's what they're far more attracted to a picture of you. And then you talk about something else than a picture of some random person. My very first coach's name is Andrew Priestley. And Andrew, and he's British. Actually, he's Australian, but has been living in England for 30 years at this point. Andrew's really good at this. And I like to mention Andrew because Andrew is totally a baby boomer. Andrew likes to talk about when he started business, it wasn't even the yellow, well, you use the yellow pages, but you also just went knocking door to door, right? Cold calling looked very different. Research looked very different. But Andrew's great at this. He will share personal pictures of himself, but then the message, the content of what he's sharing is deeper and constantly speaking to and pointing to the client he's trying to attract. You can share articles, right? So maybe you come across a really great article that reinforces one of the messages you are trying to communicate to your ideal client. You can share that article, but never just share an article. I accidentally did that the other day with something, but never just share an article. Always share a post associated with that article where you start talking about your perspective, your point of view. Every time you open your virtual mouth on LinkedIn is an opportunity to showcase your value, your impact, and to let other people know how you can be of service to them. Right? So I'm going to say this goes with engaged commenting. When you comment on people's posts, which is a great way. So for those of you who are like, I feel really uncomfortable with posting on LinkedIn, I know it's important, but a great place to start is engaged commenting. Go find other people who work in similar spaces to you, or people who work in peripheral partnership spaces, people who are talking about the topics you would like to talk about to your client base. And then start commenting on their posts. Make sure that your comments are intelligent. What I mean by that is, great post, so happy you put this out there. This is fantastic. It's quick, but it doesn't tell the reader anything about you. I have had people contact me on LinkedIn saying, hey, I saw your comment on so-and-so's post. I would like to connect with you. Hey, you mentioned something here. Would love to talk more about it with you. Right? So you're not selling yourself, but you are sharing your expertise and your perspective on a problem or on a result that is relevant to your target audience, which would be your ideal client, such that when your target audience reads about somebody else's stuff, they also get introduced to you. And if you're really consistent with that, you will become a familiar face on certain people's posts, right? That is maybe the one advantage if you're interested on, posting comments for some like more famous people like the Simon Sineks and the Brene Browns and whatever of the world, right? They really will not engage with you, but the people who do follow them are the same. So if you're consistently posting, you're going to gain visibility around people who are interested in being better leaders, right? Or people who are interested in coaching and business development. So you can consider that. Any questions so far? I'm speaking fast because it's a lot and it's a short amount of time. No? Okay. The last and big question you have to think about is how? How am I going to post? What is my approach going to be? This has to be a process. It has to be a system. Anybody in marketing here can back me up. If you're haphazard in your marketing, it is a waste of your time and your energy. So anybody who were to look at my activity on LinkedIn would notice that I'm haphazard right now. There's a reason for that. I'm repositioning a bunch of things. And I have a lot of homework with my new coach. I just don't have time. But I'm gathering all the data to start creating a content calendar. The content calendar does not need to be something really crazy. It just has to be at its simplest level, deciding how frequently you want to post and having a bank of either topics or pre-written posts. I want to share something with you. Let me change the shares, and I think I have to make sure that the app is even open. It is open. Okay. I want to show you how I do this. So stop share. Let me change the share. So over the years, I've tried lots of different things, but one of the things that has been most effective for me has been to keep a bank of posts. So this is Asana, which is just the app I use. You could do this on a Google Sheet. You could do this on a paper if you wanted to, although I wouldn't recommend because that duplicates work. Where basically, anytime I'm having conversations with people, anytime I'm reading anything and I hear something that sparks an idea, I open this app and I go and I create a post. So I don't even write the post. I just throw the idea out. So yeah, of course I can do it. Guaranteed that's something that a woman in a conversation told me. The boss bulldozer getting things done, guaranteed that's based on a conversation. Heroically underpaid and overworked here is a direct quote from a client of mine who was talking about her background, right? The value in having this right here is when you have to write something, the idea is formed. And the best way to create posts, what's going to get the most engagement for you is to listen when your clients speak to you and to use their words. Somebody says, I got the other day, I was really struggling with whatever, boom, grab a sheet of paper, struggling with whatever, and use their exact words, right? You want to use their exact words because when you're writing, we'll talk about this a little later, you're going to be writing in the to them, to you, not us, not we, not whatever, to them. And you want them to hear their own words repeated. Because what I hear very often is, oh my goodness, Alessandra, your post, I've been following you. Again, a weird thing. I've been following you and your posts are so on point. It's like you're talking about my life. Well, yeah, you know why? Because I am talking about your life. And I'll tell them this, I just use the conversations I have every single day. What I've done is, these are actually old, I'm not up to date, but when I am up to date, I'll pull a few of these that I decide I want to write about. And usually on Sunday or Saturday, I'll sit and I'll write my post in advance. And then I sit and I pay attention to how posts do. Right. So I look at how things are going. I can tell you that LinkedIn has an algorithm. It changes all the time. The algorithm, and the more people there are on LinkedIn, the more difficult it is to get traction. So about a year and a half ago, I easily got anywhere from 10 to 30 or 40,000 views on a post. Now, if I get 1,500 to 3,000, I'm like, this was a great week. Nothing changed about my posting per se, although I haven't updated things to the algorithm. There's just more noise on LinkedIn. Right? But just remember that views are a vanity metric. If I'm getting viewed by a bunch of people who are not my ideal client, it doesn't matter. If views are not translating into somebody contacting me and saying, Alessandra, I'm really struggling with this. I'd like to talk to you about coaching, or I'd like to talk to you about bringing you on our team where we are bleeding women right and left here. Does it matter that I'm getting 30 or 40,000 views? Absolutely not. The value in keeping your metrics like this is that you can look at which posts seem to speak to people. And here's the really great news, folks. You can totally repost the same stuff again and again and again. Because the secret is you're not Simon Sinek, you're not Oprah Winfrey, you're not Brene Brown. Nobody is paying so close attention to you that they're following every single piece of content you're putting out, and that they'll sit there and go, hey, you posted that 3 weeks ago, that exact same post. So it is okay to repost the exact same post if you have a really powerful one and circulate them, or to just tweak the language. I did that recently. Actually, one of those posts in this week's post came out the week before last. There was one about money there. And when I leave on vacation, I tell my assistant, I'm like, here, repost these things, right? And there's certain posts I know get people fired up. Anytime I talk about money, that gets people fired up, right? And so you don't need, I happen to have a lot because I enjoy writing, because it's what I do, because it comes naturally, but you don't need to have the bank of posts I have. You do have to have powerful posts, and then you can just recycle them, right? If you have 30 or so, you could really good ones and they maintain relevance, you just recycle through those. If you are not a habitual LinkedIn poster, this is based on work I did with my previous coach. I would highly recommend, and I know it's hard, that you start an initial process of posting daily for 30 days. LinkedIn promotes people who are active on LinkedIn. So if you post once a week or once a month or once in a blue moon, LinkedIn's not going to show your posts. So in the first 2 hours after you've posted, LinkedIn first sends your post out to a few people, and then they see if people interact with your post. And if you get enough traction, and I don't know what enough traction is, but if you get enough traction, they'll blast your post out to more people. And they continue doing that as long as you continue getting traction. So initially, only a really small segment of your first degree followers are getting to see your post. If they do not interact, and interact is clicking on something, ideally commenting more than 5 words. If you're trying to boost somebody else's post more than 5 words, that's where intelligent commenting helps. In the first hour or so, then your post will start losing traction. LinkedIn will stop showing it. It'll stop putting it on people's feeds. Right? If you post daily for 30 days, LinkedIn will sit there and go, oh, this person's actually engaging. And that's what LinkedIn wants. If you're engaging, you're on the platform. If you're engaging, you're creating content that will keep other people on their platform, which means they can advertise, which is money for LinkedIn. So they will preferentially post. Right? Once you're done with that 30-day, you can decide 3 to 5 times. I have gone, when I'm active, I'm posting about 5 times a week, but sometimes I'll just move it down to 3 times. It's fairly easy for me. And again, it's my number one marketing strategy, right? It's worth it. Timing, when should I post? Listen, you can Google that. There's a lot of different advice. I would say, first and foremost, it depends on your market. Second of all, the words of wisdom is to post during transition gaps. So if 9 o'clock is when most people start work, if you post around 8:45, most people will be tooling around with their computer at that time trying to see. Same words of wisdom for email marketing, right? 11:42 because, or 11:54 because people are going to get on at noon, and some people end just a little earlier and they check their email one last time before their lunch break. Right? I'll talk about my most successful format in just a second, but before I go to that, any questions? No? Okay. So here's my most successful format. I did not invent this. I have gotten some advice on this. I've watched what other people have done, and this is just what works for me. You can try it and tell me if it works for you. So the most successful format I've ever had starts with an engaging header. That's why I wanted Janny to share something. So an engaging header can be a number of things. It can be a sentence that starts and leaves an ellipsis, ... And then you put a lot of space because the human brain wants to complete what it starts. So, you know, the number one reason most women burn out at work, ... And people are like, yeah, I just started a sentence. It wasn't even a question. I just ... because there's supposed to be is and that, and people will go. It can be something that is controversial. We're not trying to like start flame wars here. Controversial can be something like, this is why really effective women get less done. I think that was one of my recent posts. This is why the most effective women out there get things done. Like, what do you mean? If they're super effective, why are they getting less done? In general, some of your posts should call out who you're speaking to. Hey, female tech leaders, do you ever run into this problem? Question mark. How do you get through a long day at Disneyland with fibroids? Right? It's summertime, you know, time to go out with family. How do you right? So an engaging header. I like to write my headers in caps because it breaks from what you see on LinkedIn. The next thing is your body, and your body's a story. You're telling people a story. And when you're telling people a story, just remember that the story is never about how awesome you are. The story is always about how awesome they are. I'll write a book recommendation on this for marketing that's short and easy and really useful. But the story is about how your client is the hero. They're awesome. You're Yoda. That's what you are. You're the guide. They are Rey. They are Luke Skywalker. You're just the guide. And write it like you're speaking to a single person. So not we, you all, they, it's you. I'm writing to you, the singular reader. Because when I'm reading a post, I'm not thinking that there are 20,000 people behind me also reading that post, right? The other thing I would say is ask an easy question. You want people to engage with your post, make it really easy for them to engage. So you might write a whole post about one thing and write a question that pertains to what you're writing about, right? If I'm writing a post about how women are really afraid of asking for money, I might put as my final question. It can't be threatening, so I can't say, what's the last raise you got? That's a really personal question, but I might say, hey, have you ever wanted to make more than what you're earning? That's an easy one. Have you ever struggled? So let me know in the comments, right? But an easy question. Sometimes the question doesn't even have to do with whatever, right? I might be writing about something and say, hey, I'm really curious. What book are you reading right now? Let me know in the comments. As long as I can somehow connect it back, right? Maybe I'm talking about a book I loved and then talking about how it pertains to a problem my clients are dealing with. What book are you reading right now? So engage people at the end. And for formatting, leave breathing room, right? The rule of thumb when you're writing on electronic formats, emails, blog posts, things like that is 1-sentence paragraphs. People want to scan. It's very difficult to scan if you just have blocks of words. So like 1-sentence paragraphs allows people to go create space between them. Use all caps to highlight sections or points. Use emojis infrequently and sparingly, but still use them sometimes. But when you see somebody's post with all emojis, it feels spammy, right? So add hashtags, right? Understanding what your business is. There are certain hashtags that pertain to your business. And we'll talk about do's and don'ts, no more than 4 hashtags. LinkedIn does not like when you put 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 hashtags. So no more than 4 hashtags. And if you're going to tag people in your post, meaning you do @ and whatever, tag first-degree connections. LinkedIn does not like you tagging. It's strange based on what they want. They do not like you tagging second-degree or third-degree connections. And tag people you think are going to respond. Because when you tag somebody and they don't respond, LinkedIn doesn't like that. That's if you're tagging in the body of your message. So one thing you can do is tag somebody and then send them a private message. Hey, I just wrote a post. I tagged you in it. Would you take a minute to respond? Right. And that's going to drive engagement on your post, meaning that more and more people will see it. There's some LinkedIn do's and don'ts. And we're really at the end of this because I know it's a lot of data. So don't share external links in the body of your posts. Ever. Don't ever share LinkedIn. LinkedIn does not like it. You are driving people away from LinkedIn. They do not like it. Right. So if you have an external link, for example, I keep on sharing my contact me link. I'll say, schedule your free whatever call, link in comments, and you can put it in the comments. Don't be the first person. This is weird. Don't be the first person to comment on your post. LinkedIn doesn't like that. You got to sit there and wait. And even if you said link in comments, you got to sit there and wait for one other person to comment. So if you're working with each other, you could say in this first month that you're trying this, hey, can you, John, could you please comment on my post? I just put it out there because now once you comment, I can share my link, my external link. I said, don't use don't tag second-degree connections and people you don't know unless it's super relevant. I totally tag Simon Sinek sometimes. He has not accepted my connection request. But it's very relevant. Usually if I tag people and they're not, and I have a reason to tag them, but we're not first degree connections, I'll try to go connect with them as well. You have to have a call to action in your posts, right? The simplest call to action is that question, but you're trying to drive business. So I would say, we'll talk about it like at least 2/3 of your posts, you can put a specific call to action, like contact me to find out more about this. Click on this link, click on the link to see my guide to ... Michelle might have some real incredible trick to get out those nasty stains that you can't get out, right? And she might have a handout for that, right? So asking somebody to click on a link is a call to action. Asking somebody to contact you is a call to action. Asking somebody to do business with you is a call to action. But you don't want to put call to actions all the place and you don't want to be salesy. So that's why we're telling stories and then showing through those stories how we bring value and then inviting people to connect with us if they find that they're dealing with the same things, if they want the same value. That is really the call to action, right? It's like, hey, if you're looking to ... let's talk. I can help, right? Let's talk. Let me figure out if I'm the right person to help, right? Contact me here. Click this link. Open this document. Join my newsletter, right? And don't post and ghost. LinkedIn is all about engagement. So once you post, either you, an assistant, a friendly kid, or a spouse needs to be there and interact with the people who are commenting and interacting on your post. So if you see people just clicking the like button a lot, you can totally break the don't be the first to comment rule and go, hey, Dr. Scarlett, I saw you like this. Would love to know what your thoughts are on it. And I'll tag Dr. Scarlett in it because she already liked my post. She'll get notified that she's there and I'll engage her. But once she responds, I need to like her comment and respond to it. And ideally, tag her in that response. LinkedIn is like, oh, you're having a conversation with somebody. We really like that because LinkedIn is about building business relationships. And here are your do's. And I can share this whole slide deck. Figure out which keywords match your business and use them. They're going to be your hashtag. So I use a lot of executive coaching, executive coach for women, women in STEM, women in finance, right? Those are some of my biggest hashtags. So this is the bane of my existence to figure these things out. I hate it when marketers ask me, what are your keywords? I don't know. That's why I hire you. Figure it out for me, please. But when you have them, you can pepper them in your text naturally, or you can put them at the end of a post, and it allows people who are interested in those spaces to come, right? Do tag first degree connections in the comments. So there's sometimes I have posts and I just want them to be engagement, and I'll say, hey, you were like, hey, passionate leaders, hey, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. And I'll tag a whole bunch of people in the comments to engage them and to get them to comment directly. We have the like and reply. Play around with video, be natural. Video is, I'm that person who takes 1,000 takes to make the video look like I just shot it once. If video takes a lot of time, but people love video. So sometimes it's just a matter of grabbing your phone and that post that you wrote out, it's reading it on the phone while filming yourself. People love video. I don't get it. I like to read. But at least LinkedIn allows you to play video at 2x speed. And if I can watch your video at 2x speed, I'm fine with it. All right. So play around with video, just be natural, and use it and see how it goes. Do engage with other posts. It's a great way of building traction. Show up as yourself, share personal stories. You are not divorced from, your personal life is not divorced from your professional life. So make sure that when you're talking, you're not pretending to be somebody. I used to joke that when I first started my business as a psychologist, I pretended to be Dr. Wall because I was young and I was trying to look, and it wasn't good. I wasn't attracting the right people. It was a lot of work. Once I just was me, and that means I drop F-bombs. I totally give hugs. I cried, with my patients at some point in time, and I would high five them. Business got better. I attracted more of the right people. I had better relationships with people. I made more money. And it was more fun to work on and in my business. And the last thing is engage with people who engage with your posts. So eventually, when you do this long enough, you will have people who you don't know, second degree connections, who engage with your posts. These are potential clients. So private message them. You say, hey, Tracy, you want to say thank you for engaging with my post. Your comment was, or I saw whatever, would love to know more. Would you like to connect? Because that is you driving your business and your relationships with these people. Okay, last and not least, the golden rule. I'm going to come back to this. Everything starts with your ideal client or your ideal customer. Everything. What you write, how you write, what you say, how you engage. When I'm talking to women, my voice is slightly different than when I'm talking to corporate leaders who I want to hire me as a corporate partner because it's a different audience. If I were talking to coaches, it's still me, but the kind of wording I'm using and the way I talk is going to be different. So I will send an email with these do's and don'ts, with examples of at least how we write posts, with a book recommendation. as a follow-up to this. And again, all I am is one business owner talking to other business owners about how I drive marketing and how I drive business using LinkedIn. It has been so incredible to see the impact of doing this well. And for me, definitely worth the investment in time and energy.
May I ask a question I think is relevant?
Yeah, please.
Which is are there any advantages to having a paid account on LinkedIn?
So I've had them and I don't right now. The advantage to having a paid account on LinkedIn is that you can see who's looking at your profile. One of the advantages is that you can see who's looking at you and you can start connecting with them. Right. That is one huge advantage. There are other ones like your LinkedIn Learning is free and you can do, oh no, that's very specifically the LinkedIn if you're doing marketing research in the background. But one of the big advantages, and then you can send a lot of in-mail messages without having a quota. I'm not sending 50 in-mail messages a month, so I'm not too worried about that. But probably the biggest one is you can see who's visiting your page very specifically, and then you can start trying to connect with them, which might mean looking at what they're posting and going in and start commenting on their posts. So they looked at you, but now they see you starting to show up. Which starts a conversation, which then can start a relationship, which then can lead to business.
Alessandra, you said earlier, I believe, that when you comment somebody else's post, or when somebody comments on your post, it needs to be a certain length to have some, what is it, 5 words?
5 words.
Okay, thank you. I do a lot of that commenting on my members' stuff to help them, but I did not know there was a minimum word count to make it of any value. So that's very good to know.
I'm always learning. LinkedIn changes its algorithm all the time. And so I'm constantly looking. I mean, that's one of the big ways I knew LinkedIn changes the algorithm. I'm like, how did I go from getting 10,000, 15,000, sometimes 40,000 and upward in a week, right? not in 6 months, in a week, to like struggling to hit 1,000 people or struggling to hit this. And it's every time LinkedIn changes its algorithm. And now the experts tell me, because I go and tap on in it and ask experts a lot, that part of it is also everybody's more active on LinkedIn, right? And so you have to fight through the noise. But again, the idea is that those are vanity metrics. If only 5 people are interacting with you, but those are 5 paying clients who love you and are going to evangelize you and talk about you to other people, then you don't need the other 3,000 people, right? So that's another argument, by the way, when you are connecting on LinkedIn, to not just connect with everybody and their mom and their grandfather, right? Is really to think about, nobody's feelings should be hurt because you declined the connection request. It's really looking at, are these people my clients? Right? Or these, I get a lot of marketers and other things. I'm like, here's the thing. Initially, I thought maybe they'd want coaching. And then I realized these are not my clients. So no, every time one of those people, I'm like, I decline it. If they write a message, I write a message back, always politely, but decline. And I'm trying, because I did at the beginning of the pandemic, hired somebody to build my LinkedIn. So I have 7,000 connections, of which I guarantee 4,000 to 5,000 are useless, meaning they don't really follow me. I don't follow them. I'm not interested in what they're talking about. They're not interested in what I talk about. But here's the problem. When LinkedIn blasts my post, they blast it to those people too. And that's part of the percentage of people that they're trying to see, like, are these people engaged? So I'm actively trying to slowly go through it. LinkedIn does not make it easy for you to unconnect from someone or disconnect.
So you're purging your list.
I am purging my list. I really believe in talking to fewer people who are the right people than talking to everybody.
Interesting.
Dr. Scarlett, you had unmuted. Did you have a question?
Actually, you kind of segued into it when you answered Brett's question, because I get all these individuals trying to connect with me, and I'm like, well, you're in this corporate thing in this country. I have no idea who you are, and you're reaching out. So you just answered the question for me. So I'm like, I keep deleting and ignoring and whatever. So
It is
thank you for
fine.
clarifying that.
Yeah. There are two schools of thoughts. One is more is better, and the other one is be targeted. And I found that from a business perspective, if I were trying to be an influencer, more is better. But I'm not an influencer. I'm not marketing. I have a niche business. And so targeted is far better.
Okay.
The chamber would have no need to connect with people, for example, in Dubai, right? Who are trying to connect with it. Like, it makes no sense. It, as amazing as they might be, unless they're planning on moving to North County, like there's no point, right? So any other questions? And by the way, my LinkedIn is part of what I shared. So anybody is more than welcome to connect and ask questions. I'm really, as a business owner, as a fellow business owner, always happy to share the knowledge. I live in a world where there's a ton of abundance. I'm happy to share the message with other executive female coaches. Yes, Don.
Is it useful or valuable to like have a series of posts, like the top 6 things, and then here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different posts?
People love that. Now, here's the thing. Nobody's going to follow your whole series, Dawn. Not yet. And it's nothing personal. Like, I got 10,000 followers, and those were organic followers that just, if you look at, guarantee none of those folks, even my own clients who love me, don't follow everything I put out. But what you can do is in the comments, you can say, hey, responses to are the link to those are in my comments. And then you can share the whole series so people can go back and visit it. If you write a post that's amazing, either gets a lot of engagement, people commenting, or a lot of traction, or you're like, this was so on point, you can, at the top right, or on your profile, you can feature. There's a segment where you can put features and feature those posts so that when people are visiting your profile, they're immediately brought to things that are relevant to your business. So you can feature all kinds of things. You can feature, PDFs, articles, videos, blog, if you've been on a podcast, like your podcast, but you can feature your own posts. Those posts about money were featured on mine for a long time because women really responded to this idea of not feeling like they were paid enough or not feeling comfortable asking for those salaries. So I definitely wanted the women scrolling on my post and the company scrolling on my post to see that I was writing about that and to see what I was writing about it.
I did post a link to something of yours in the chat. I don't think it was the one you asked me to look for, Alessandra. I didn't find it. And that was my problem, not. So
let's see.
What I posted
you did posted the whole link, right? So like, how do you start? Yesterday was written on the cuff, right? That post. It's literally, I had tried something and I was struggling to do something, which is which was meditate. And I posted it. But if you scroll down on there, a lot of these are just on the cuff stuff. But self-promotion is shameful, which is one which I posted last week. That was literally a repost. When it says, I talked to a group of women in tech last week. Yesterday, I did actually talk to a woman, but that references an Athena Academy that I'd done maybe 6 months ago. And I just took the copy and put it as a brand new post, cut and paste, right? And for me, since on mine, I don't know if you can see this, but on mine, I can see the impressions. It's 2,500. That's good engagement these days. So like my current, if you look at my activity, is not really reflective of what I was doing when I was getting a lot of traction. You would have to go down maybe 6 months and then you would see it's a lot of long form, very few pictures, just because I don't feel like putting pictures, and it's a lot of posts that are written to and for the women I was connecting with. We changed the format when we were trying to appeal to corporate audiences, but I don't think the change has yielded the results we need to. Right? I mean, talking about things that are shocking, when did ghosting become professionally acceptable? Right? That was in response to a client of mine being so frustrated by recruiters hounding her when they needed her and then ghosting her for weeks. And I said, my goodness, when did ghosting become professionally acceptable? Wrote it down, wrote the post the next day for it, right? And it people get really fired up. If there are things that fire your clients up, everybody else will get fired up. If you got results, some amazing results with your clients, write a post about it where your client is the hero, not you. Let people know what you can do. And expect it to take a couple months before you start seeing the true impact of your efforts. Totally worth it. If your people are on LinkedIn, it is totally worth it to spend the time doing this. And it is a huge investment of time.
Dr. Wall, I just want to thank you so much for sharing all this valuable expertise and for just your time. And we really, really are grateful. And I think we all picked up, I think I have like full pages of notes, not just one page. So thank you so much. Again, we really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time and going over and answering all of our questions. And I think this is like a great forum, this group here, and of course, everybody that will be watching the recording to, as fellow business professionals, to really get in tune to each other's LinkedIn and support each other and really look at each other as the thought leaders that we are, and to take all these really great tips that you've given us and to really look at the impact that we can have on each other's businesses by, responding and commenting thoughtfully and professionally, and really understanding the impact that we can make. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so
very
much.
Appreciate it. And thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye.